Welcome to the Cosmetic Podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energized.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Roderick Ross.
I'm Keith Benson.
So today we are talking about remember when. You know, that's the dream sequence music.
Right.
When you got to go back in the past. Remember when all of the things that we used to do that we don't necessarily do anymore.
For example,
Yep.
our entertainment was with each other.
True.
Like, man.
Yes, you have to go play with other kids.
Like, if you couldn't go
Cousins.
outside.
Right.
And outside meant outside all day.
Don't run back and forth in and out of my doors.
And did you have to use the back door?
I lived in the projects. There wasn't no back door.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lived in the
was
projects
one
too, but we had back doors.
That was the down south projects versus the New York projects.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So nowadays, kids, I mean, they got the internet, they got cell phones, they got computers, they got video games. And like, all of that is in the house. And so, you know, we had to get outside and be free and play around.
I had a parent one time tell me, because we made it mandatory that the kids that were in our preschool program would go outside and play every day. And I had a parent tell me their child is allergic to the sun.
Yeah.
What? Well, I just don't like them to be outside. Excuse me?
And nowadays, you know, you got to put on all the sunscreen and everything.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't really think that's where she was coming from. I think it was just such a foreign concept that these babies would go outside and play every day.
Man.
I was like, really?
So when you think about going outside and play back in the day,
Yeah.
I mean,
We didn't put on sunscreen. That's number one. We just went outside.
No sunscreen. You just
So,
went outside and
yeah,
played. You went
just
to
went
the
outside.
playground, and if you were alone at the playground, you just alone. You know,
yeah.
swinging on the swing, playing on the monkey bars,
That's
climbing
it.
over the thing, the merry-go-round, spinning round
And they
and round.
didn't have all that mulch and all that stuff at the bottom of the jungle.
No,
You just
man, around that merry-go-round, the
No.
hole just got deeper and deeper and deeper.
Cat-like reflexes.
Yeah.
You better land on your feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But nowadays, if you go past a park and you see a child playing by itself, it's like, what the world? What?
Where's that baby's parents? You're ready to
What?
call the police.
Yeah.
It seems so foreign and so strange.
And like, even if the kid is like in middle school, maybe even in high school today, if you see
Yeah.
somebody alone in the park, you got all these thoughts that's going to mind. Man, I hope they're not going to pick. But back in the day, you
it was
didn't.
nothing.
Yeah, you were just
just went
outside.
outside.
You were just playing all the time.
Yeah, it was what you did. Like, you woke up in the morning, you did your chores, all of this to get to the part where you could play outside. Now it's like my son is doing all his chores, so I don't make him
Exactly.
go outside.
I remember one time I told my kids, go outside and play.
What?
They were- I was like,
You don't want to go outside?
man, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Just remember when.
Yeah, remember when. So, remember back in the day, we used to learn how to write cursive. You learned how to write script. Like, kids don't do that these days.
And I'm so bad now, like, man, I gotta like take a moment for me to write a whole sentence in cursive.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
I gave
right
in
now?
to the computer.
Wow. I don't know how I feel. Like, you went to the dark side.
And
like,
but you know what? I won me some penmanship awards like back when I was in elementary school.
well, I need to go back to the people who gave you the award and tell them that you're a traitor.
Pretty much.
You put
pretty
down the
much.
pen.
Yeah,
You
me
put
and
down the
Microsoft
pen.
Word, we're like on
Yes.
point right now. I can appreciate some Microsoft Word. Now I
yeah.
was really fancy when I went off to college. My mom got me this this typewriter that was like a computer, and because it had the little I had moved from the little white strips that you had to put in there to correct things.
Yes.
So I had the little line in the little digital line in there that everything typed, and I could just backspace it. I didn't have to use the little white
Oh,
tab.
you were very fancy. I didn't have a typewriter when I went to college.
I'm sorry.
Well, you
I'm
know,
sorry.
It's fine. I'm over it now.
Yeah, and so when total accessibility to children, you know, was not a need, and neither was the whole nature of the parent just being there, because you could go outside and play.
Yes.
And when I say go outside and play, I'm not talking about, 10, 11, and 12. I'm talking about young, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6-year-old. You can go outside and play, and parents didn't worry about you like we do today.
So, you know what they call that now?
What do they call it?
A helicopter parent, right? So let's find out if you're a helicopter parent, right? So here's one thing. You do your child's schoolwork or their projects. because you just want their projects to be so fancy and you don't want them to be sad if their project is not the best one in the class.
Man, so
Oh.
no. My daughter checked me early on.
Good. I'm so glad.
I was like, come on, baby, let's do the work. And she kept giving me the look.
Like, this is my project.
No, baby, we're going to make sure that this project is done right.
See? It's going to be done right because I'm going to do it.
And she checked me hard until this day.
I love her.
To this day, I don't mess with her in her homework.
Helicopter parent, if you coach your children's coaches, you always got something to say to the coach. Put my kid in. My kid could do this. This is
I was a coach. I had to.
Did you do that before you were a coach though?
No. So even when I never coached a coach, I always coached my child. So like my daughter when she played basketball, for an example, like it wasn't about like 5-6 parents up in the gym in the first place.
Wow.
And so go to the right, baby. Go to the right.
Well, what was the coach telling her?
Well, the coach knew I was right, and so,
that's a check on that one. So, another one is, you're a maid in your own house. Like, you're constantly cleaning up. You don't hold the kids responsible. You got to I could tell that I'm going to check this.
Nah, you up my... you have to clean up mine.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a pass on that one. You can't let your children fail.
See, so
that's a check.
No, but hold on.
Okay.
I fall in the place of a couple of things. So there are ways that I can let them fail, and I'm sure people would challenge this thought, is that I probably hold back from allowing them to fail big. Mm-hmm. And some of that is coming from just being African American.
Right.
And the challenges that I know of today.
Absolutely.
So very fortunate that I have two very intelligent children. Mm-hmm. That they on point as far as their work. But I remember one time my son had did something. He was playing around in line, and the teacher said, for the reason that I'm gonna take 10 points off of your grade because you all were playing in line. Now, I got a little bother behind that because I don't have no problem. You check my child if they're wrong.
Okay.
But what I would find inappropriate is that you take points away from his grade because we're dealing with
accountability.
No. The two don't have anything to do with each other.
Because you said so?
No, yeah. You can call it whatever you want. But playing in line and a child's grade, they didn't have anything.
So what do you think the punishment should have been?
Whatever it is for playing in line, but we can't mess with the grade because at that point for me, I see that as you trying to pull a child down from an education standpoint versus handling the discipline. If discipline my child. My kids know that I'm probably going to side on the favor of somebody else because I'm just that type.
Right.
But no, we can't mess with the grade because you earn the grade.
Okay. I still hear some helicopter propellers in the background.
You can say helicopter because that's protecting my child again from the education space.
Well, at least you're not a lawnmower parent. You know what a lawnmower parent. So a lawnmower parent is like a helicopter parent on steroids, right? Like they do whatever they have to do to cut down any obstacle. They can't let their children fail. They can't let them be uncomfortable. They have to make everything perfect for their child.
No, I ain't a lawnmower.
No, you're definitely
I'm hovering on the helicopter side.
You are definitely you're a helicopter parent. Yeah. It's fine though, because they are two amazing kids, so something worked.
Well, let's get back to how did we survive as kids?
Well, we didn't have helicopter parents. That was number one.
Well, what about? So I remember. I ain't gonna say I remember because I'm just saying what they say in the articles and stuff that you'll do research on about back in the day before seatbelt law.
Okay, you trying to tell me you did not ride in a car as a kid without a seatbelt on?
Well, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny my age.
Okay, then.
How about that?
Oh, how about that?
But like the seatbelt back in the day, it was It was down in the seat, in the back seat. And the only reason that we reached down there was because we wanted to find some money.
Oh.
And so I got me some Candy Lady money by reaching in the back seat.
Down, not
and we just
for a
it was a
seatbelt.
novelty to find the seatbelt.
Wow.
So
or the fact that it was probably 7 people in that back seat with only 3 seatbelts.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there's that part right there.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
recently I just bought me a bike, right? And so I've been doing this bike riding thing.
Wow.
Right?
That's a whole different podcast.
Huh?
I think
Right.
that's a...
But so I have a bike now, recreational purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And, now I'm looking for me, what's the best helmet, for my head. And that, I know you watch yourself. Now, back then, I don't even think helmets even existed.
I'm trying to think, did I ever see a kid
Definitely
with
not.
a helmet on?
Only time I saw a helmet was probably on the roller derby games.
Yeah,
and
but that was a different beast.
Yeah.
That's not... I never saw a kid riding a bike with a helmet. I'm trying to think, did I ever see a bike that was like all of the same original parts? Like all of the bikes that we saw, it was this kind of
Exactly.
handlebars, this kind of seat, this kind of chain.
Well, here's the thing
Put
on
it
the
together.
seats, though. I would appreciate the seats being a little bit bigger than what they are today.
Wow.
In comparison, back in the day, there was a banana seat in comparison to the little small
What
seat.
kind of seat was
The
it?
banana seat.
Banana seat. Okay.
See, y'all probably had that in New York.
I've ridden bikes without a seat. You better stand up.
And there's that, too.
Bike, yeah.
But if your buddy wanted to ride, we put them on the handlebars and we ride all across town.
Well, that part.
And then when I think about riding the bikes, I think about as my kids were coming up, riding the bike, it was like stay on the sidewalk.
Or go to the bike trail. A bike trail? What?
No bike trail. Our
Bike
trails back
trails.
then was just dirt trails going through the neighborhood.
Or you get in the street. We
Right.
didn't have bike trails
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's amazing some of the stuff that we.
When you go back
Survive.
when you look about Remember When, I mean, even from the way that kids learn how to spell, like we had spelling tests back in the day.
Yes.
And yes, they still have those today, but the difference is that most of the kids, probably even from early as elementary, I know at least middle school, they're typing now.
Yes.
And so
you just hit spell check.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't really have to
and
learn.
you ain't got to hit spell check. Like, it just pops up now.
I remember even a teacher telling me one time that they allow, the really young kids to write their stories and stuff and spell the words phonetically. So however it sounds to you, that's how I was like, well, how do you teach them spelling? And they were kind of like, is that really a necessity? It's like, yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
I don't like typing with all of your fingers. Do people really still type with all of their fingers, or are they just on these, this 2-finger, 3-finger thing from texting?
Because they can use the thumbs for texting, and they go to type and they use the pointers and tap 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 tap, and they typing on the way.
Man, remember pen pals? When you used to have to write a letter and mail the letter, and then you wait like a month, and somebody writes you a letter back. Like now, you just shoot them an email. It doesn't even matter where they are.
Just
in the world.
seconds. Me and my cousin, we used to write each other all the time.
Yes.
He lived in Northern Virginia. I lived in North Virginia Beach area, and we would write each other. I mean, that would be a thing that we would write each other. And now it's text.
It's just a text, or you just send someone an email. Like, I really do think kids, do they still have pen pals? I mean, you would think with technology, the world is so much smaller, so you really could have like a pen pal that lives in Beijing.
Well, it comes in different form, right?
Yeah.
So when they playing video games, and so they have friends, not pen pals.
Well,
'cause
yeah.
they're not using a pen anymore.
Right.
But they have friends all over the world as they play the video games.
Wow, man. How about this? Did you ever learn to drive a stick shift?
I did.
Were you any good at it?
I got quite good at it. And
Really?
Because I got in my mind like I played it in my mind.
Wow.
Now, when I did learn though, man, I used to go up to Northern Virginia, and Northern Virginia and DC, they have hills.
Oh.
And I was a little scared to stop at the stoplight on the hill.
Yeah, and lots of traffic.
Yeah.
It's like your legs are gonna be real strong with all that shit.
I mean, do they even make stick shifts anymore?
I don't know. That's a very good question. But I remember like that used to be the thing, hearing stories where everyone learned I didn't learn how to drive on a stick because I'm just not that old. But hearing that everyone had to kind of learn how to drive on a stick shift.
I mean, but so much has changed though, even from YMCA programs. I mean, so back in the 70s, that's when the whole exercise wave was coming in.
Leg warmers.
Yeah, the jazzercise back then. Also, camping was already big, but I mean, just the whole part of a day camp was coming on to the scene.
Childcare wasn't a thing until the 80s.
Biggest thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about childcare back then, families though were so much bigger, and so I would assume, at that time, more traditional families, 2 people began to start working.
Right.
Probably during that time.
Yeah,
as
when
well.
moms started entering the workspace, then YMCA started offering childcare. Because before that, moms stayed home. They stayed home with the kids. Even if you had the one-off mom that worked, it was mostly someone in the neighborhood. You knew all your neighbors, right? Everyone was friends, and so it's a different vibe.
I couldn't believe though, so back in the 70s, the family size was 3.4 versus 1.9 today, as far as with,
really.
I'm sorry, with kids. Like that's
how do you have 0.4 of a kid? These are the questions that pop into my head. I don't know.
Well, so we do math. So back then, back in the day, did you do math in your head, or how'd you do?
Oh, you had to do math in your head. I mean, maybe if it got really complicated, you got a pencil.
I mean, the way they did math then and the way they do math now.
Now, I will grab the calculator on my phone so fast. Like 1 + 1. I don't even want to guess at it. I'm going to go and get the calculator on my phone.
And so, I mean, when you think about education then as overall, I think back in the 70s, only 20% of American women had college degrees.
Wow.
And now you look at it today, as of 2015, it was 62%.
Wow.
That's a huge shift.
Huge shift.
And
But is that because more moms and more women are entering the workplace, and so they're getting those degrees to stay competitive and to move up?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. So when you talk about the YMCA and childcare entering into the space, you saw more wives, more women going back to work, earning more income, and therefore the child had to have somewhere to go, and therefore childcare exists to a place that it's at today.
I got one for you, and you're definitely going to relate to this one because you live and die by this thing. So back in the day, we used to use a paper map. What do you use now? And you use it all the time, because I'm still astonished. Like, you still don't know how to get there?
I'm amazed at how in the world did I get around?
I don't understand it either.
Even when I go home and I haven't been there in a while, it's like I know my way because, I eventually learned it. But now I have to use.
You are just mapping everything.
Directions to da 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 da. I'm just going around the corner. It's
right there.
It's such a dependent, man.
I have done that. Oh my gosh! Like, you put in directions to something, and it tells you, oh, it's 300 feet, and you're like, oh. Well, okay then.
Exactly. And so, I mean, when we think about our workplace, in our case, the YMCA, is like, how do we continue to evolve?
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about from the 70s up until now, but now that we're in this place that we're still in the midst of this pandemic, like, where do we go from here?
I mean, virtual has just popped up in everyone's world in a way like we've never seen before. Like, I have learned so much about Zoom and Teams and all these virtual meetings and virtual connections that I would have taken my time, right, learning and becoming proficient at, because I prefer to just meet face to face. Like, you just have a meeting, you go there, and that's the end of that. So, yeah, this technology thing has forced us to kind of build up a set of skills that they didn't exist before the pandemic.
And we all
remember when we actually got in the car and went to a meeting with other people, right?
Like just a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that remember when we're talking about from 70s to now, but really now it has to be from today,
right,
back
from
to,
April
to March.
Remember
right?
when we didn't buy antibacterial stuff by the case, right? Like
there was this thing just called soap and water.
You just
back in the
soap
day.
and water. Like I don't remember ever pumping this much
and so
antibacterial gel.
As we make this change, we got to think about all those different ways that we have to do some things different, and
provide those things so people feel safe and feel secure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So safety is a whole other thing. As we talk about back in the 70s, where you didn't even have to wear seatbelts. Nowadays, it's just automatic that you get in the car.
Yeah, and they just
Did you ever have one of those cars that when you close the door that the seatbelt came around you?
I hated that.
You did?
I didn't like that at all.
I love my Camry. If I had to go back, I could.
Wow, I didn't like that thing. I was like, don't take away my choice. I didn't like that thing.
Remember when? We can go back to the 70s or we can just go back just a few months ago. Well, whichever way, we know we have to move forward. So thank you for listening to Cosnetic,
where our conversations are
globally minded and locally focused.
We'd love to hear about some of the things you used to do back then when you remembered when at ymcadallas.org/Cosnetic.
And as always,
stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay Cosnetic.